Good afternoon and welcome back. And before the break, we were talking about human resource management, and Dr. Sood was telling you about that how to go about recruitment and how to conduct interviews. So we will start from there itself. That there were questions also that how to conduct interviews and how to shortlist the candidates. He elaborated on some of those questions also. So we'll start from there also. That what are the other issues in human resource planning. But again, my request before Dr. Sood takes up the mic, I will request you that please keep on asking some questions so that we also know that we are talking to somebody and we are interacting with some persons. So with that request, I request Dr. Sood to please continue with that.
So let's see what are the other mechanisms for management or development of human resource. And there comes a performance appraisal system. Performance appraisal system is very important mechanism because all of us, at whatever level we are working, we want that our performance should be recognized and rewarded. In most of the government setup, it is the annual confidential report system, which now is considered by management expert no longer a effective performance appraisal system. Many a time, the person who is being assessed in this annual confidential report is not given feedback. Say, I don't know what has been my performance. Only if your ACR is bad, only then it is communicated. If I have done well, nobody communicates to me. And there is no joint objective setting, no assessment why I was not able to achieve the goals. If I was able to achieve goals, what new things I can do. So the current mechanism in most of the government organization of annual confidential report is no longer a mechanism for human resource development. But in the private and corporate sector, there has been objective parameters for assessment of the performance of the individual, and incentives are accordingly linked with that. You might have experience of now, see, the call centers have come up in major metropolitan cities. Now the persons who in these call centers are performing well, they are given out of term promotion. Sometimes their weekly or even daily performance is being assessed. In other countries, even daily performance of the employees is assessed. When you are about to leave the office, in your computer you have to just fill up the format to say what you have done for the day. And in 1 month your salary may be X amount. Next month if you have performed more, your salary may be more. And if you have not performed what is minimum expected, your salary may even be less. So only then, if you have a objective performance appraisal system and link it effectively with the reward system, whichever there is in your organization, only then it can act as a mechanism for human resource development. In other countries, and especially in the corporate sector, now there is another system which has come up, which is known as a 360-degree appraisal system. Because there are certain qualities which my subordinates know about me. There are certain qualities which my colleagues will know, and there are certain qualities or my activities which only my senior has noted. So in this 360-degree appraisal system, a person is appraised by his juniors, he is appraised by his colleagues for certain types of activities or competencies or skills or performances, and also by his senior. So in ideal performance appraisal system, there should be first to begin with a joint objective or goal setting for the coming year. That means that you should sit with your subordinate and together you should plan, okay, this is what we expect from you, how much you can achieve in next year. Because sometimes if you give unrealistic goals and targets to your subordinate, they will obviously not be able to achieve that. And once you involve them in joint target setting, they will own those targets. They will feel, okay, I was involved in the target and this goal setting for myself, so it will be more realistic for him. And then it should be periodically, feedback mechanism should be there to give him the feedback. Okay, every 3 months there should be some mechanism of meeting with superior and subordinates where they discuss, okay, in this previous quarter you were expected to perform these things. Why you were not able to do that? Then he may give some justification which may be logic and right also. There may not be some additional resources which were expected to be provided to him were not provided. Maybe some unprecedented events happened, so he was not able to go out of that particular organization for performance of those tasks. So that means in a good performance appraisal system, there should be a mechanism for joint collaborative goal setting in the beginning of the year. Secondly, there should be very objective parameters for assessing the performance. And third, there should be some mechanism of periodically reviewing these performance targets and sometimes modifying this. And ultimately, fourth very important characteristic of a good performance appraisal system is to link it with some reward system in that. So performance appraisal system and reward or punishment system in the organization should be linked if you really want to have the maximum out of the manpower. Another important mechanism is the transfer mechanism. Transfer mechanism is not to be used in a punitive way, but basically it gives the opportunity to the staff member to be exposed to different work situations so that he can have more task variety, and that way the boredom will go. So if you are doing the same type of task for say 1 year or 2 years, so naturally your performance, because this is a human nature, you want to do new things, creative things, so that opportunities of task variation and task variety is lost. So transfer can act as a mechanism for human resource development only if you use in that context, that place them in different and more challenging opportunities are given to him, so that he feels that his competencies, his skills are being tested. Then another mechanism which is very effective but usually lacking in our government setup is employee counseling and feedback mechanism. These are also very, very important, because there has to be some mechanisms either in the welfare sector or maybe in the formal structure of the organization where there should be counseling, because our employees also require counseling. He may be at very high level, even top manager of any organization, they will require some interaction, some counseling session. It is important. So counseling, employee counseling mechanism and feedback to them. Okay, you are strong in this area, develop in this. You have very good competency in this area, join this particular training program and acquire more competency. You shift like that. This is important. And career planning is very important, because all of us ultimately we want to excel in our area where we are working. So if you have a good counselor who guides the employees also, okay, this is a way you can progress in your career. And sometimes you will find in good multinational companies, at the time of advertisement itself, they put in the advertisement that if you join our company today, after 5 years you will be at this place, after another 5 years you will be, and in 10 years or 15 years you will be at the top, and these are the people who joined our organization, and after 10-15 years they have reached that level. So these all mechanisms are important, because you are to realize the potential of the human being which is with you. Last but not the least is the organization work culture. Development of a proper work culture is very, very crucial, and this makes a big difference. And many a time we feel that developing a good work culture is the responsibility of the subordinate. It is the responsibility of the head of the organization or head of the unit. It is his responsibility to ensure a good working environment, because in a good working environment even an average worker will give his best, and if the working environment is not proper, even the best worker will not be able to perform. He may be termed as an idiot or a poor performer. Now let's see what are the important elements of a good work culture. First and the foremost is the openness. As I said, if you want to know the potential of your employees, informal interactions are very, very important. Many times when you maintain very strict hierarchy, you don't know what are the problems your subordinates are facing, because you only want to listen, yes sir, yes madam, everything is going fine, yes, everything should move fine. But openness means that the employees or your subordinates should not hesitate to tell you the truth. They should not hesitate to tell you what is the problem they are facing at their own level. Because unless as a manager you know the problem, you cannot solve that. So just putting the problem under the carpet is not a right policy. When we say openness, that means each employee, each subordinate should be able to express his or her ideas and views independently without any hesitation, whether it is a problem, whether it is some new suggestion for improvement. Second is the trust, because especially in the health sector you have to work as a team. I may be a very good surgeon, but after surgery the patient goes to the ward where the other people take over, maybe staff nurse, maybe paramedical staff, maybe the ward boy. So trust is also very, very important. There should be mutual trust, and that feeling should be there that other people, other colleagues, other subordinates are there to help you. That feeling of trust should be there, not backbiting that happens sometimes in the government organization. So once you have the feeling of mistrust, it is very difficult to get the things done from others. Third is the autonomy. Autonomy means functional autonomy. So once you are satisfied that a particular person has the desired competency and the skill, let him work of his own. Let him take certain decisions related to that particular area. If you don't decentralize, if you don't give him autonomy, basically is the power to take decisions related to a particular set of activities. So once you have selected a person as a medical officer of a primary health center or a particular unit, give him some autonomy, functional autonomy, and you observe him from a distance. Intervene only when there is a crisis situation. When you think that the things will go out of control, only then give the direction. But if every time you are directing, say a surgeon, put in season, clean this, now stitch this is not right. This is the functional autonomy. The person will not enjoy which you get when you create something new. Say a painter, a artist, a surgeon, at the end of 4 or 5 hour surgery, they get a satisfaction that this particular procedure was very difficult, but I did it. So that satisfaction will only he will get once he has been given the autonomy, functional autonomy, that he is able to take decision, to extend the decision, put some particular drug required, follow some particular surgical procedure. Another element is the creativity. The progressive organizations accept new ideas. Unlike in the government setup, the bureaucratic system usually is close to the new ideas. And we know that every decision is a new challenge for them. A decision which was a very right decision 5 years, 10 years or last year may not be a good decision. It may be a disaster decision today. So creativity should be encouraged. That means any new ideas, any alternatives other than the conventional should be encouraged. Because creativity is one thing which will, because people say ultimately it is the ideas which bring the organization to the forefront, because there is a competition everywhere. So new ideas, new ways of doing things is important, and that will only come if you give creativity, allow creativity to be in the organization. And that culture you should, that whenever a new idea comes, at least listen to that idea, at least have a positive attitude to that idea, rather than immediately rejecting, oh, you are useless, this cannot happen, this is not America, this is India, in India things don't happen. So then new ideas will not come. Another important element is the proactivity. Proactivity means that you anticipate problem, you anticipate the things which may happen in future and start preparing for them. Even we had in the morning session disaster preparedness. Why we have so much loss of life and property in our country? Because we are not proactive. We start doing the things at the time of when the events go wrong, when the things go wrong. And at that time it is the emergency and crisis management, and the output is likely to be much more less. But if you are prepared for a particular thing, then you are able to manage that thing well. So proactivity again should be encouraged. For example, if an employee says, okay, the summer season is coming, there are likely to be cholera epidemics, you are working in a primary health center setup, what will your response usually is, oh, don't worry, when cholera cases will be reported, then we'll do that. But you should appreciate that this person is aware that after 1 month or 1.5 months, the rains will come, the summers will come, and the cases are so. You must prepare. Think of supply of bleaching powder, overall dehydration, giving a health education message. This is what we mean by proactivity. Unless you plan, unless you anticipate, and this is one of the important tasks of a manager, is to proactive, to anticipate, have intuition about the future things. Third is the next is the authenticity. This is again a flaw in our government setup. All the time we say that honesty, hard work, value should be rewarded. We say we make very good speeches, but in reality we don't do that. And this authenticity is very, very important, because your employees are observing you very closely. What may happen in a closed room is known to the employees within minutes through the informal channels of communication. Your PA or private sector immediately will say, okay, today they discussed about the DA disbursement, or today they discussed about this issue. So before your official communication goes to the subordinate, informal communication is already there. So these values, I think it is very important that you lead by example. A leader, we had in the earlier session a very important discussion point, that leadership is very important in our setup. And if you want to provide effective leadership, you have to lead your people by your own example. If you are yourself not punctual, if yourself you are not honest, if yourself you are not hardworking, you should not ask your subordinate to do that. So that when we say authenticity in our culture, that means the people who are at the top, they should lead by example. They should show that they are following those values. Only then the colleagues and subordinates will follow that. And risk taking again is related to thinking of alternatives, alternative solutions. Many a time I have seen in government setup, people, they know that the solution or the decision which they are taking is not the optimal, but it is not associated with any risk, so they will go for that. So risk taking, so all these elements which I have just mentioned, the openness should be there, the people should be able to express their views, there should be mutual interest, the functional autonomy to take decisions should be there, creativity should be observed, proactivity should be encouraged, authenticity and risk taking is required. So all these elements make a positive work culture. When we say that a person in one setup situation is not able to perform his best, maybe some of these elements are lacking in somewhere. Because in human nature and you have feelings and emotions. So all these elements are related to that part of feelings and emotions. And this is, work culture is nothing which you cannot see like a solid or objective thing, but it is which will be reflected in the behavior, as has been mentioned by Admiral Singh, that this work behavior, organization behavior, all these components, the way you talk to your subordinates, the way you interact with your subordinate in a meeting will reflect some of these elements. Say when you are having a positive work culture, you will address them by first name. Maybe you will not mind even your subordinate addressing you by first name. Maybe you will start your meeting with, okay, how are you? Your son was doing very well in medical college, or you had some problem. So that shows that you're open. You have a trust in your subordinate. Oh, I gave you that task, you did very well. You say that in front of others. So all these work culture elements, although are not visible directly, but they are visible by your behavior during your interaction with your subordinates. So I think these are some of the elements which we should keep in mind when you are interacting with your subordinates, with your colleagues, even with your seniors. And let me remind you once again, it is not that dry subject. Human resource interaction and development is as live as surgical procedures. As human procedure. You don't require a high level technical things. I had the opportunity to do MBA from IGNOU. I cleared 21 papers, and after that I only realized if good manager has to be a good human being, and he has to lead by his own examples. And these are the things. You have to be really a good, honest person, and you can always be a good leader. There is no need for any management technique to know. And all these things will be reflected in your behavior, how open you are, how trustworthy you are, how authentic you are, how much values you are. And gradually these values will trickle down in your colleagues. And I give you a very simple example. Say, you go to your director, for example, and you find that first it is very difficult to get appointment. You talk to his PA, oh, director Saab is busy, you come after 2 days or 3 days, okay. You go to the office, director office on that day, oh, director is again busy, the PA makes you sit for 2 hours. Then again after 2 hours you get an appointment, and then interaction, director say, oh, thank you so much, but I am very busy, I have to go to ministry. So what you have learnt as a head of department through this interaction, that it gives status that you don't give immediate appointment. So what you will do when you come back to your department, your immediate subordinate, again you will try to behave in the same way. So this is how the work culture trickle down, and I hope all the listeners have understood some of the basic things in this, and details are given in the modules, and if any question which is welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Sid, and for a nice word that one need to lead by the examples. So, and you also mentioned about something motivation and leadership. So I think the motivation and leadership are two other essential elements of the human resource management. And now we'll be talking something about that, how the person can be motivated, what are the various theories of motivation, why motivation is required, and also what are the various types of leaderships. And if you see that your course 1 block 3 is dealing with these aspects of the human resource management. So I will request Admiral V.K. Singh to just give our learners some idea about what is this motivation and leadership, both how they can be combined for effective utilization of the resources and bringing about the efficiencies and effectiveness in the organization.
Thank you, Professor Arora. I think this is motivation is one thing which I, being in Defence Force background, is one thing how important it is in the defence, and subsequently also copied by corporate sector. Why in defence? Because you motivate your soldier to die for the cause of the nation, and that is not a very easy thing. He doesn't die because he is getting a pay. I think so many of us will not like to go and they don't join the armed forces, but he is motivated. Now this is the something which is really is very deep-seated issue, that how do you motivate a person to do a job. Vietnam is a country where Vietnamese soldier was a barefoot soldier, but he defeated 3 of the big powers of the world. USA had to withdraw from Vietnam because the conviction they had for the nation. That is one thing. That one thing is what is motivation? It is the psychological drive or force that directs someone towards an objective. That means you have to have a cause-effect relationship. You must be very clear why I am doing this job. And if you are convinced, you don't need really money. Today people are talking money is a satisfier and not a motivator. I will be discussing in a course of time. So that is one thing, is that motivation is for the cause which you are convinced is correct cause and you are ready to give your life. You take, for example, LTTE, terrorism and everything. There are ladies, there are gentlemen, there are young boys who are fighting for a cause. Right or wrong, I am not deciding and I am not discussing.
It is the inner urge to do
It
something.
is urge to do it. Maybe political reason, may it be emotional reason, may it be community reason, whatever it may be, but they are convinced that this is the right thing which we have to do, and only possibility is I am ready to even sacrifice my life. That is how the human bombs and people are ready to sacrifice their life. And that is what is the extreme nature of motivation. Now, when we talk of a motivation, which Dr. Sood has just brought out a work culture, he brought out leader must set an own example. Work culture is the one thing. Why you want to join particular organization? You must be very satisfied, and money is not the criteria. You must be satisfied. You must do the challenging task and challenging job for which you are meant. Second thing he said, leader should set his own example. In fact, nowadays lots of management schools are quoting Indian literature, and they have quite often now quoting in the journals that in Gita, when Arjun never wanted to fight a war, the Krishna said, look Arjun, if you show demoralize, your forces will run away. Set your example in front of your own soldiers. Forget about the relationship, and then only you will win this war. The war is for a cause for which you should be convinced, and that is what the Gita has said. So Gita, there is lots of quotes in fact on the management which are being brought out into the various things. Let us see how this motivation business came. In 1930s, when people started talking how to manage the departments and organization, it was push and pull theory versus reward theory. If the person is doing bad, you give him a punishment. If you are doing good, the carrot and stick theory, then you give him some reward. And that is how people bought, and people had the leadership in 1930s. That was the famous time when the Taylor, etc., the management experts and management guru had came into the scene. It was in 50s when the Second World War was in offing 45, and that has been around 45 to 50. Then Alton Mayo theory came up, where they talked of the behavior. That you got to modify behavior of a person if you want to achieve an objective of an organization. They collectively they must achieve that objective, and that is how they have learned that how this objective can be thought of. And this was theory of 50s when Alton Mayo and all the Fayol etc. has brought out. And this is the time when the behavior science came up. Lots of things comes up from the defense, subsequently adopted by the corporate world in civil culture, because of sheer necessity it comes from the defense, and that is what the example I have given you. Now when we talked of a behavior at that time, what is a behavior? Behavior is just a set of activities, is called behavior. You do certain things, and after doing certain things you achieve something, and that is what is the behavior. So you must have a goal directed activity. You must show a goal that this is what I have to achieve. You start working for that goal, and then you achieve that goal, and that is what, to achieve that goal you are motivated. This is what is the theory which is behind it. At that time the Maslow has brought out the hierarchy of needs, or a psychological triangle which we people talk. He said that initial all of us need something, and what is the, he talked about motivation right from physiological need. He says you need a shelter, you need a home, you need a food, you need a water, the food, thirst, hunger, sex, all that is a physiological need of a person, and he is motivated to get it. And that is what he thought of a physiological need. Second, once we meet the physiological need, I need a security. Security of today, security of tomorrow, that should something happen, me, my family, my environment are secured. And in the crisis I should be able to do it. The third one is that you being a member of a society, you would like to affiliate yourself to that particular society. So you would like to do a right thing where society can appreciate your work and you feel motivated. Why you are motivated? Because you are having an esteem and ego. your ego and esteem is satisfied. That was the next thing in hierarchy which came. So first was physiology, second was security, third was affiliation, and fourth was esteem and ego. That your ego is satisfied. Why today somebody says that I will like to be called with a higher appointment will get much less pay? It is just to satisfy my ego, that my name should be there, doesn't matter, I get less pay. If the pay was a motivation in a Western world, the Safai wala get much more than many of the managers. Why should you like to be a manager at all? Because your ego is satisfied. You will like in society be called, he is a manager, he is an educated person, and 4 people will like to talk to you and feel happy about it. But the money is not that criteria as far as that is concerned. And last of it, that self-actualization. That is the stage very few of us, people say 10% of people who reach on self-actualization, where worldly things don't matter to me. That I have got anything to do with that, and I have reached on the pinnacle where society recognizes me. Something like Mahatma Gandhi, he just had one of the loin cloths to wear and nothing else he had, but the world remembers him. He was in the stage of self-actualization. Now when this was talked, this was the initial psychological, the need of hierarchy, that is what is the hierarchy of needs, is the one which was brought out in the behavior science model. People talked about it, discussed about it, and then another theory came, a McGregor theory, X and Y, which you can read in your modules. Theory X was, we believed that everybody disliked work. He has to be pushed, he has to be rewarded. But it is not so. The theory Y was that just opposite, that all of us like a work, we all will like to do work, and if you don't give a work to somebody, I think is the biggest punishment you are going to somebody. The work is natural with us, it is inner urge with us. So that is what is the person should change, that it is not the theory X, but it is the theory Y, which is the one which is the more appropriate, and managers must understand this. After that, when discussion came, then the Herzberg, same when he talked of theory X and Y, he said, look, whatever Maslow has said is fine, but his initial 3 things, that means his physiological needs, his security need, and affiliation need, is 3 things which are satisfier and not a motivator. And everybody today in the world accepts the physiological need, security need, and affiliation needs are just a satisfier. If you don't give this in organization, the person will be dissatisfied. If you give this, he is satisfied. He is not a motivated. Motivated comes when your esteem and ego is the one which is brought out, and you are doing a job when you are convinced this job is one will make me happy, it will satisfy my ego, it is my inner necessity, it is my inner need, that is a motivator. So today people are talking, motivators are esteem, ego, and self-actualization. And all other things are satisfier and not a motivator. That is what theory X and Y has brought it with Herzberg, has modified this, that these are the satisfier and these are a motivator. If that is the so, then we have to think that if you talk of a motivation, of a ego satisfaction, of a, now you fit into your organization, have we given that work culture to people that satisfy the ego? If not, then there is something wrong with the manager. And Dr. Saab has also brought out 360 appraisal, that where auto appraisal or his subordinates will appraise him how good as a leader I am or how bad a leader I am. In fact, this again came from the Israeli army, where subordinates rated their officers that how good they are and how bad they are. And Israel is one of the countries which is really lots of things to be learned from that country too. And subsequently this corporate put it at a 360 degree, and all other organizations started thinking about it. So what is really thinking is that you would like to appraise your culture of your or corporate culture or organization. Is it everybody is happy? And in this country, not that I want to prophesize the Maruti, but the Japanese who brought out many things as far as the management is concerned, and that is why after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, today they are a country having so much of wealth. They have talked of quality, they have talked of management. Even every electronic gadgets of Japan is being sold much more what American products are within America itself. There must be something, how they have motivated after this particular episode. So this is what is the Japanese culture brought it, and Maruti was the first one where they talked of an organizational culture behavior in terms of corporate sector implementation. General manager to down below, everybody has got same dress. They eat same food. They eat at the same time. They are liberty to interact so that they can criticize, they can form things better, and that is how the work culture is. That everybody is happy, everybody knows about each other. There is nothing like manager sitting in a big place. He is also seeing that what is happening, and that is one thing. If you recollect in your module, in one place it is given, there is something called Hawthorne's experiment. Hawthorne experiment was done by Japanese in G company, and in the G company what they did was, they said, can you in a national scenario or in an international scenario, if you are CEO, can you supervise every person yourself? No. As long as a person has a feeling, I am being observed, I am being rewarded, I am being appreciated, he will do his job. And that was the experiment. So how do you get it? You may get by electronic information. You can get it. What is my output and productivity? Is it as norms, or is it more than that, or much less than that? In your newsletter you will publish such and such has been a person of the day or a week or a year or a month, so the people know that this is what the productivity he has produced. He is not known to a CEO or a general manager, but he is working somewhere in a corner, but he is come to the notice because of this information setup. So as long as person know that he is being observed, his productivity will go. As long as he feels he is being observed. Now that is not necessarily by direct observation. So they initially, when they have really made this, there no cubicle, there was just a glass partition and similar type, and general manager is working and his employees are working, and then you would find the people will say, look, general manager has an observation on us too. And that is how is one of the organization culture was thought of. And this is what is the organization culture which gave them. Now there are second thing which came up in this motivation was the quality consciousness is one thing which also had motivated them. They had small circles, and these circles gave certain recommendations, and these recommendations was put up to the top management and they accepted. In fact, there is a lot of study Safaiwalas in the hospital have done in Japan, which is published material, that simple washing the floor by plain detergent is more than enough rather than spending all sophisticated solutions. It is a study done by them, because they are the one who are the expert, and that is how they have satisfied their ego, that I am very useful person, not that nobody knows what is his name. Not only that, he is even published in the article that this is what is being done. So that is what is more important. We buy broom for a Safaiwala, but he himself doesn't buy, and nobody asks him what type of broom. He should be the most expert person. So there itself, they have decided it is the grassroots level who can take a decision, who can be motivated if they take decision in operationalizing of many things. That is what we talked of mode at that time. That how do we do in that particular mode, and that is what is more important. So motivation is the factor which we have to really think in organization culture and the leadership. Here we like to add some more thing. You find in your hospital or a health facility, there are certain jobs which are probably not liked by the people, and they feel that we are not doing a good job. Absenteeism in that category, the study shows, is much more. That is why you say class 4 employee, Safaiwala, they are useless, they can't come, they don't think Because as a manager, I don't even know his name. How will he identify himself with the organization? If he has got same dress probably like a general manager, and general manager knows his name, he will do much better. I am definite about it. That is one part. Second part is, I have given you one example that how they were motivated if they have to select certain things in the organization. They are in the purchase process. They are also in the evaluation process. They are also being told that, look, your article has come because you, and this is a recommendation we have accepted, things will improve. Now here the three words came up. One is called job rotation. If I don't like a job, now these are two different theories of the East and the West if you really see. Western world is more cold in their behavior because they are from the cold country. Eastern bloc, we are from tropical country, we are very warm in relationship. And that is why I always give some example. When first time I went for 3.5 years in Zambia, some people of United Nations were there and I greeted them, I met them. Again after 20 years I went to United Nations again as a Deputy Chief Medical Officer of Southeast Asia. So some of my UN friends still met me and they said, oh doctor, you have got the same wife which was there 20 years back, I have changed 10 of them. Second is they change their life is something which is a part of it. But in Japan, if a person is not working, they feel it is their social responsibility of the organization to take care of him. After all, 5 fingers are not the same, 5 children of the house are not the same. So it is your social responsibility that there is not a hire and fire. Today you hire, tomorrow you say you are fired. It is not that. They want your organizational culture, you must marry with it and work for it, and one day you would produce better result. And if you are not satisfied, rotate his job. If he is Safai wala, the Tatas have done a lot of job in that. He is converted into a small computer operator. In fact, when I was working in United Nations, the person who was driving me as a driver, the senior people only have a driver, he also came my security guard, and subsequently he was also sort of a semi-PA to me. He was working on computer. So he is very happy. Whole day is working rather than sitting in the car and doing it. Similarly, so such job rotation in Tata's schools management, which is in Pune, I have attended some of it, they have job rotation. So from this job you pick up and so that you feel happy and you are not only same class 4. Second is job enlargement. Your scope of job is increased. That instead of one is that instead of one job today, you have done second job tomorrow. Third model is no. You have today you remain driver, but also became a computer operator or small in nature. So this is your job enlargement. Third is called job enrichment. Job enrichment is the one which I like the best. You redesign for the person that this is the job meets my psychological and motivate. I am motivated for the job, and that is called job enrichment. That means I somehow give that particular thing to him where he feels happy. That is only possible in a human resource planning and development. When you talk to people each other, understand what is necessary. That is why HR is such an important thing now, that you got to motivate people by adjusting their need and not only hire and fire, but taking as a part of the culture. And if there is somebody a weaker link, how you motivate and match him up with that. And that is what is the theories of motivation can be applied on the ground in a health sector, in a hospital sector too.
Hire and fire should be the last resort.
Yeah, hire and fire should be the absolutely last resort, and that is what I feel.
Professor Agarwal, would you like to add something? I think he has stimulated our students to motivated great extent. I think you would like to further motivate our students.
Oh yes, in fact I'm a little demotivated myself because the questions are not coming from the students, and we are we want to be sure. Like in the studio, we have 2 students here, from the 2 centers. RR hospital, Army hospital, as well as the ESI hospital. So we should know that we have more students who are participating this. That will motivate us to speak more and more, you know.
And
so
then also, let me tell that we
Yeah.
will be continuing this session after lunch also. We'll
lunch
be having
also,
one.
and we will also give them the date for the next teleconferencing also, if possible. We'll try to finalize so that you know the next teleconferencing date as well. Only thing that I would like to add, because before the session closes, not much of time, I thought I'll share something on communication. If you permit, I'll share with our communication, or we may take it after Dr. Sood or somebody can take it after lunch, or we can just give a general comment about. Okay. Maybe I can give a general comment, and communication part can be taken later on. Is that the famous management guru, is Peter Drucker, and Peter Drucker has said something beautiful, in his management books, which are worldwide acclaimed, that 80% reasons for a failure in a hospital or any organization are because of the system's failure, because the system is not proper, and it's less than 20% you can attribute it to the inefficient workforce, doctors, nurses, workers in the hospital. I'm taking the hospital example. So we often, always blame doctors and nurses that primary health centers are not working, the community health centers are not working. True, but what is the reason? It is not the doctor and the nurse or the workers alone. That's only about 10 to 20% reason is because of the manpower, factors. But 80% of the failure is on account of that the system may be personal management, financial management, administrative procedures, availability of the drugs, vaccine, contraceptives, supervision, monitoring, control. These coordination, motivation, leadership, all this we are talking today is that system in our healthcare delivery system is to be blamed actually, and all these systems must be strengthened.
But then these systems have been also created by us.
Yes, but these systems have been created, right, Dr. Arora, but we as the medical administrators have to strengthen the system so that the people who are working in these PSCs, CSCs, they feel no handicap, and they are motivated. The whole problem is they are not motivated, they have no commitment, they have no leadership, they have no supervision, they have no monitoring. So that is one thing I thought I must share here. Maybe Dr. Sood may like to probably agree with me or disagree with me.
In fact, sir, the system is very important. In some of the developed countries, they are having higher level of economic growth because of their systems.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
once you have a system means that the system should be having a humanistic approach.
Yes.
Say in our setup, we have bureaucratic system where we think that files are more important than human beings. Say, I give you some very, I think I have 2 minutes with me. Say you want to apply for a loan for a house from your organization. So how many times they will say submit this
Yes.
letter, submit this, submit this, submit this, and at the end of 2 months you are fed up with that and you go to a private sector and get the loans in 2 days. So the person who has worked in an organization for years together, he is denied simple things because the system, bureaucratic system requires documents which are more important. So the point here is our system should realize that in the new setup where more competition is coming up, our system should be, rules should be flexible to take care of the needs of the people there. Rather than saying that the paperwork is more important, we should also appreciate the employee is more important. Here the key difference between Japanese culture and maybe our Indian culture is that there is no feeling of belongingness.
I think the system should
Professor Admiral Singh said that the Japanese management is the best because the people own the organization. In fact, there are examples in management books that in some of the factories when the people come in the morning, they pray. They pray that God, our performance, our output of the company should be more today than it was yesterday.
Yeah.
But whereas in the Indian setup, some leader should die so that I have a holiday, I can keep sleeping. So the feeling of belongingness is not there in our system. So why it is not there? Because our systems are rigid. We feel that this organization is not caring for me. So I think the point which Professor Agarwal said, that if the systems are such that the people, they feel motivated, they feel that the organization is caring by providing them with equipment, timely support of logistics, appreciation, minimum facilities which are required. So I do feel systems are important, and of course those systems should have a humanistic approach.
I think system should revolve around the person and not revolve around the procedure.
Right.
It should be more human oriented rather than the procedure oriented. I think that is the message, and on that note we'll break for lunch, and we'll be back at 2:30, and we'll be going to have another session of 45 minutes where we would like to cover all the other area, whatever the left areas in the course 1, because in next teleconferencing next month we'll be going on to the course 2, that is on the financial management. So again, my request is that during lunch, if you can send some facts or some messages, you can also SMS to us also. You have got my mobile number. So those questions we'll take after the lunch. So with these words,